Okay, you may want to pause the video to jot down the definition of a complex fraction. A complex fraction is a fraction whose numerator and or denominator contains one or more fractions. And I know that you've worked with these before, and I've given you an example above using a over b over m over n. And in a complex fraction, the fraction bar that separates the two fractions, you can kind of think of that as your major bar. And the problem with the math type app or software that I use, sometimes the major bar is not overemphasized. So if you need clarification on where the two fractions are separated, by all means email me or ask me. Domain restrictions, restricted values in complex fractions, it's a little bit more than I want to get into in a video, so that's a discussion that we will have in class. If you want to pause the video and write down the definition and then come back, that's fine. I would do that right now. And the first example we're looking at, just involving mixed numbers, this is a problem that you could have done last year. So I've just simply rewritten each fraction as a mixed number. And then whenever you simplify a complex fraction, you turn it into a multiplication problem by multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator and then simplifying. So I consider this a 7th grade problem, and the next problem could be a 7th grade problem as well. But let me go ahead and recopy the numerator, turning this into a multiplication, and I will multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. And then using properties of exponents, it's easy enough to see that this simplifies down to xc over y squared. So let's move on to something that uses some skills learned this year. And in this particular fraction, the major fraction bar is right here. And what I'm going to do is copy the numerator, but I'm going to factor it when I copy it. And then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. And then you can see that you're simply back in a skill that we've been working on for the past month or so. And then the pieces that remain come together for your simplified answer. The next problem, the major fraction bar, is not so easy to see. Here the major fraction bar is right here, separating the two pieces. So I'm going to take that numerator and copy it and factor it as I write it. So it's x plus 2, x minus 2, and then my denominator will factor as x plus 5 times x plus 2. The denominator of the complex fraction is simply the binomial x minus 2. So I could think of that as being over 1. So when I turn this into a multiplication problem, it's 1 over the binomial x minus 2. And then I just simply compare, looking for factors top to bottom, and the pieces that remain come together to give me my simplified answer. The remaining problems on this page, I think I'm going to wait and do those with you in class. It might take too much time on the video, and I don't want to make the video too long. So let's go to the other side of your handout. And once again, going back to a 6th or 7th grade type of a problem, a mixed number. A mixed number is the sum of an integer and a fraction. So to turn 2 3/4 into an improper fraction, you would multiply 2 times 4 and get 8. 8 plus 3 is 11, and the improper fraction would be 11 over 4. Bringing it to this year, a mixed expression is the sum or difference of a polynomial and a fraction. So this is a very simple skill for you. So here's your problem. And your only job is to write this expression over a common denominator. The denominator would be x, so that means that 5x would need to pick up that LCD of x, and then you just simply write the terms or write the fraction over the same denominator. So to simplify this, that would just be 5x squared minus 3 over x. So I think this is very, very simple, and the pizzazz that I'm asking you to do for the weekend homework, all you're doing is just simply taking mixed expressions and simplifying it into a single fraction. So you're just simply writing it with a common denominator, and it's very, very simple. Let's look at number 24, and then I'm going to do the remaining problems on this page with you in class. Of course, you're welcome to do them on your own and we can compare answers, but I will do these with you in class. So number 24, this is a mixed expression, and you're just simply asked to write this over a common denominator. So the common denominator for number 24 would be x times x plus 1. So here my original numerator is x, and let's see, I'll color code this like I've done for you in class. I'm going to go ahead and give myself one big fraction bar, and here's my common denominator. So I'm not using the skill where I bracket the entire equation, because it's not an equation, it's just an expression. I'm not making the denominator go away like we did with the LCD method and with our Chapter 7 homework problems. I'm just simply taking this expression and writing it over a common denominator. So the blue x represents the x of the first fraction, and the missing factor here would be an x. So I'll use blue to represent the original denominator, or the original numerator rather. And here I have x plus 1, this is my original piece, x plus 1, and the x plus 1 factor, well, the factor of x plus 1 is missing in this denominator, so I would need to multiply the blue x plus 1 by the missing factor, and I'll just color code that as a red x plus 1. So here's my denominator. I'll do that in red, and then everything in blue will represent the given numerators. And this will be the opposite of a sum property. When I take that product, I will need to take the opposite sign of each piece. And then finally, the 2, the last term, is sitting there over 1. So I have this 2, and the 2 needs to pick up both factors in the common denominator. And now it's just simply a matter of multiplying and gathering like terms. And then if you can factor again at the end, do so. If not, you just bring everything together and just move on to the next problem. So x times x will be x squared. And then I'm subtracting the product when I multiply this out. That gives me x squared plus 2x plus 1. And then I'm left with 2x squared plus 2x. When I remove the grouping symbol, I have x squared minus x squared plus a negative 2x minus 1 plus 2x squared plus 2x. And of course, all of this is over my LCD. And gathering like terms, cleaning this up, I see that x squared and x squared will cancel out. Negative 2x and positive 2x will cancel away. And I'm simply left with, this is a 2x squared, I forgot to copy the square. I'm simply left with 2x squared and negative 1. So my final answer would be 2x squared minus 1. And now I'm going to write my denominator, and that would be my simplified answer. So this is really not a brand new skill, but it's just looking at things in a slightly different way, but I think it should be a fairly easy homework set for you to do.